There is something which is so compelling about the story of what occurred in Nuremberg in 1945.
Jesus Christ, it's Hermann Goering, Hitler's second in command, the Fuhrer in waiting.
It's the perfect source for theatricalization because there is something which is so phenomenally theatrical about it. An unprecedented trial with the eyes of history upon you, knowing that you're shaping history as it will be seen not just for this generation, but for generations to follow.
They captured Hermann Goering alive.
What are they going to do with him?
Well, that's the real question, isn't it? Can I come in?
So these galleries here at Imperial War Museum, the Holocaust galleries, seek to engage with the complex history of the Holocaust. Something that's at the heart of this whole project here is that the Holocaust is something that was done by people to people. It would make things easier for us if we could just say these people were not like us. They existed differently, they functioned differently, they were almost like a different species. And of course, the film reminds us that they were.
Rudolf Hess, deputy to the Fuhrer, third in line for succession following Hitler and Goering. Hess began claiming he had no memory of past events, even his childhood.
Internee Rudolf Hess has been carefully studied since his admission to Nuremberg prison. Present examination reveals a normal mental status with the exception of the amnesia. Attitude and general behavior are normal. There is no evidence of any actual psychosis. One of Kelly's first major jobs at Nuremberg was to do an assessment of Hess because nobody was absolutely confident as to whether or not Hess was fit to stand trial. Hess is not a typical defendant at Nuremberg. The reality is that most of the defendants in the dock comported themselves completely normally. And in a way, that's the biggest provocation that the trial has for us.
Years from now, I wonder what you will say about us. Will you even acknowledge we were human?
I'm standing here in front of a typewriter that belonged to Otto Seyss-Inquart. Seyss-Inquart was the Reichskommissar of the Netherlands, and he was one of the individuals who ended up in the dock in Nuremberg. Whilst he was the Reichskommissar of the Netherlands, Seyss-Inquart was responsible for the deportation of up to around 140,000 Dutch Jews. The typewriter here is a really important part of that. Everyone's aware of the gas chambers. But before that, and within that, and after and through that, there are typewriters, because there are people behind typewriters in different places doing the administration that is necessary for that process of mass murder to occur. There's been various different studies that have tried to put a number on the amount of people that could be considered criminally responsible for the administration of what we contemporarily call the Holocaust. And in some of our own research, we've suggested it could be up to 1 million people. So that's 1 million individuals who had a degree of criminal responsibility for the mass murder of 6 million people within the Holocaust. In the film Nuremberg, we see this whole concept of the critical role of individuals in history. And it's true, it's absolutely accurate to say Robert Jackson was potentially the most critical individual in the whole trial. That is what the film shows us.
May it please your honors, the privilege of opening the first trial in history for crimes against the peace of the world imposes a grave responsibility.
It just evidences what a masterpiece of scriptwriting it was. It still functions appropriately within the script of a film in 2025, 80 years later. The film, understandably, just shows us the speech's opening. It actually went on for quite a long time, and there are 72 pages of it here. There was discussion about what the charges should be and how they should be shaped and formed. And there were two new concepts advocated for by two separate lawyers, both Polish Jewish lawyers. One man, Hersch Lauterpacht, advocated for the charge of crimes against humanity. And what he was seeking to say with that is that there should be crimes that are considered to transgress the sovereignty of any individual nation, that are so egregious, so unacceptable to any human, that they should be punishable by a higher authority. Another lawyer, a chap called Raphael Lemkin, advocated for the crime of what he described as genocide. And what Raphael Lemkin was seeking to say is that there should be a law that seeks to protect the integrity of groups and their identity.
Hermann Wilhelm Goering, you are hereby charged on the following 4 counts: crimes against peace, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and of a common plan or conspiracy to commit those crimes. Do you have any questions?
No.
It's not an easy charge to prosecute. The legal bar for proving genocide is high, and there are various different considerations that have to be factored into it. But its roots and its origins all span back to this moment in 1945, and it binds us and our present and our future to this critical legacy of this trial in Nuremberg.
If we just shoot these men, we make them martyrs. I'm not gonna allow them that. There will be no statues of them, no songs of praise. I'm gonna put Hermann Goering on the stand, and I'm gonna make him tell the world what he did, so that it can never happen again.
When the Nazis first came to power in 1933, one of the first things that they sought to do was to bring the legal system into alignment with their own ideology. In theory, the judiciary was independent, but in practice that didn't work for what Hitler was seeking to achieve. Bringing the legal system into alignment with Nazi ideology was critical from the start. We can see on this robe behind me a really potent and powerful visual demonstration of that. What the Nazi era tells us is that the law is fallible. It's as fragile as any other institution that humans have sought to create, and that if it's not properly, meaningfully cared for, and if people don't advocate for it, and if the right people don't make the right case, then it can be used as a tool for oppression and persecution as much as one of protection.
So how do people become like that? We actually have a shot to figure that out. To find out what makes the Germans different.
Different?
From us. A man who writes a book about that can make a lot of money.
The Nazis understood that culture was the necessary prerequisite for broader ways of thinking. So famously, they burnt books. And they burnt books in huge pyres because they knew that books and poems and songs and films all had a completely unique way of shaping the way that people see the world and the way that people understand their place within the world. As humans, we're constantly locked in this ambition to try and make sense of ourselves and how we came to be the way that we are. And of course, that's core to the study of history, to interrogate what's happened and to try and use it as a means of assessing where we exist and potentially where we might end up. That's what artists and filmmakers, of course, do as well. A film like Nuremberg is obviously locked in that moment. There's a real significance to the fact that this is a film about a trial that happened in 1945, made in 2025. This is on the precipice of living memory. There are vanishingly few people who were alive at the time of the trial who are still with us now. And so this is moving into a different memory space. Okay, so I've got a letter here from a man called K.G. Burton, who was part of the press team. He's writing back to his mother after the execution, and his words are really insightful. He says here, "I read so many reports of what happened and the last reactions, etc., that in the end I began to feel myself a funny pain in the back of my neck. I've added the last document to my collection on the trials. It's a gruesome one I hope will never have to be written again. It's an eyewitness account of the scene in the death chamber as the pride of Nazism met its deserved end in the early hours of a cold, drizzly October morning. That is the end of a long story, and let us hope that the world has learned the lesson."